Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hello. Am I audible? Please confirm. Good. So let's start the session for today. So last class we have started about the Spring Data JPA, and we have seen that this framework has provided us a super powerful interface called JPA repository. This is an interface, right? And this interface is having lots of methods. Lots of methods are there in this interface. So what we need to do, how this Spring Data JPA framework basically solve our task to designing what is the purpose of this data JPA module? तो ये बताया कि इसका purpose क्या है? Why we use this module of Spring framework? This is a particularly one module in a Spring framework. Spring framework के अंदर बहुत सारे module है. So what is the main purpose of using this module? To design or to develop data access layer of an business application. To write a data access layer, designing a data access layer of a business application. We have various ways to design a data access layer. Data access layer you might have designed, you can design in a JDBC, you can design using what? Hibernate, ORM. So this is just because in application we have a different layer like presentation layer, business logic layer, data access layer, right? Okay, now this data JPA will having what it is basically to develop a data access layer, and it provides a very powerful interface that is JPA repository. This JPA repository interface is having lots of methods, lots of predefined methods are there. Some of the methods we have already used. So what we generally we need to do that we need to create an interface which will extend this JPA repository इंटरफेस. हमें एक और इंटरफेस बनाना है जिससे कि क्या होगा कि ये हमें some people are still giving that problem like that, full screen problem. Some person is saying solve. Okay. Yeah, good. So I hope that my screen is visible properly. Yeah, cool. So here we need to create another interface which will extend this JPA repository interface so that those methods will be inherited in our interface. And the beautiful thing about this JPA repository or the data JPA framework is that we need not provide the implementation of our interface. This interface में हम इसे implement करेंगे, उसे हमें implement करने की जरूरत नहीं. Who will implement this interface? This framework, data JPA framework, will going to implement our interface, which is extending this interface. So literally that interface, if you want to know that, how to know a particular implementation class, today we are going to see that. So what I have done that last class, we have created one project, Spring Boot Data JPA application. And first of all, before if you are using this data JPA, so first of all, you need to add some dependency. So the first part you need to add or select two dependencies is very important. That is the first data JPA related dependency, and the next one is your MySQL driver, whatever the database you are using. JDBC driver, if you are using Postgres or Oracle, तो उसके driver का jar file आपको add करना पड़ेगा. So those jar files you need to add. So here is the dependency, that is the data JPA dependency, and this is your what? MySQL. If you are using Oracle or Postgres database, then you need to use their jar files or that driver related jar file. Second thing, as soon as we are going to add this data JPA dependencies, some configuration is mandatory at a startup. What are those? Those configuration we need to specify inside in your application.properties file. And here is those configuration. What is the purpose of this configuration? Because at a startup, our Spring Boot or Spring Data JPA will wrap up some connections. It will establish the connection with our database, and then it will create a pool of connection that is called data source. Data source is basically a pool of connection, which is readily available to perform our JDBC operation or database operation. So this configuration is mandatory. And the next part, what you need to do, you need to design those many entity classes, how many you have the tables. So in normal situation, what will be there in real time application, पहले database के table बन जाते हैं और उसके according हम क्या करते हैं, हम अपने entity classes बनाते हैं उसे map करने के लिए. So if I have a student table, so we need to create a class which is having those many fields. Of course, your table name could be different, your variable name could be different, column name could be different. Tell me that if your table name is something different and the entity class name is different, then how to map this class with the table name? Using which annotation? अगर टेबल का नाम अलग है तो you need to use @table. @table annotation. You might have used that in your Hibernate, right? And अगर हमारे column का नाम अलग है, variable का नाम अलग है, then in that case you need to use @column. Right? So by using this, you can map your class with a table. So once you created this entity class, that means mapping class, which is going to use the persistence, and then you need to create your repository. The next step, you need to create the repository, and this repository is what? Student repository. The name should be, it is also, that means ये किस entity के लिए आपको CRUD operation चाहिए, method चाहिए, that class name, and you can use either repository or you can use DAO, student DAO. Some people use that as student DAO, some people use the student repository accordingly. And this will going to extend this JPA repository. Here it is a generic form. You need to specify your entity class and the data type of your ID field. So we need not implement this interface. And last thing, this is one optional repository to tell that this component is basically related to the data access layer. Nothing more than that, but it's purely optional. Because the implementation we are not going to use, we are not going to implement this interface. That implementation will be given on the fly dynamically by the data JPA framework, right? We are going to see that what is the implementation class. Okay, once this operation is done, today we are going to see we can put, right now I don't have any kind of methods inside this interface, but we are going to see that we can place some method also inside this interface. We know that inside an interface you can place your method as well. अब तक हम जो method use कर रहे हैं, those methods we are basically using from this interface, but we can also put our methods also. And guess what? The beauty of your data JPA framework is even those method also you need not override. जो dynamically class implement कर रहा है इस interface को, वो हमारे method को भी override कर देगा. We will see that how much it is interesting, and it will be if it's going to happen. Okay, once this boilerplate, you can say like that, it is something kind of like boilerplate. The main thing, that means setup, all the setup you have done. Now, what is our task? We need to generate some API, some services, web services. So कौन से services आपको generate करनी है, किस service की API generate करनी है? So you need to go to your service package, and here write a service, and that means interface. And this interface you need to specify what, how many services you want to expose. कौन से service आप expose करना चाहते हैं. So I have 3 services I have written, that is save a student, get a student by role, and get all student details. So you need to write the implementation. So you need to create that implementation class. Here it is. The first thing about this class, that is this class had to be annotated with service. Why, sir? Because this class we need to register with our container, IOC container. So this class will be registered in auto scanning. This class will be registered with IOC container. And this is the implementation. So to implement this method, we need a support of our dependency. We need to use AutoWare, that is student repository. So this service class will going to talk to the data access layer component, and it is AutoWire here. And then by using the method of this student repository, you can perform your operation like this. So like save method, like find by ID method. And here we will see that this method I have not implemented yesterday. Today I will implement that. I told that some of you that you have to implement this method, and I guess most of you have implemented. So is there anyone who has not implemented this method or is getting any kind of problem while implementing this method? Cool. So this is the thing. So first you need to write the services, and then after expose these services through the endpoints. So you need to go to the controller, and here is your controller. And inside this, you need to expose those services using those controller. That means it's a REST controller, auto wire your service, and just write your API endpoints. By using that, you can expose this service. So I hope everyone is quite comfortable with this architecture. This is the main, or you can say that the standard architecture of service layer, controller layer, and data access layer. Now, before running this example, let me just do one thing. First, I'm going to implement this method. That is here, last method. So let's try to quickly implement this method and generate an API for this method as well. So this is the student repository dot, and there is a method called find all. This method will return list of your entity class. Cool. So what we need to do, since it is throwing exception as well, so we need to just simply take if students dot is empty, अगर ये खाली है हमारा list, तो क्या करना है? We should throw that new student exception, that is no student. Okay, some person is asking some doubt like Suryak answer while saving, how to check whether that entity is already present or not, as ID will be the generated automatically after persisting. We will see that while checking, seeing that the methods of update, we are going to discuss about that, Suryak. Just hold for 5 to 10 minutes. Just wait for that. So here this is, if this is an empty, then we need to throw the exception, else what to do? Return this students. That's it. So this method got implemented. Now we need to go to the controller, and here we need to write the endpoints. So let's quickly do that one. Public response entity of list of student, and here get all student details. It does not require any kind of path variable or anything. So let's write quickly one endpoint by using get mapping. Can you guess what should be the URI of this particular endpoint? Cool. That URI should be students. Give me all the student details. So this is the naming convention. Like here, students, बहुत सारे स्टूडेंटों में से एक स्टूडेंट चाहिए आपको. यहाँ पे ये चूंकि get है, तो आपको सारे स्टूडेंट. And if you see that using post, so बहुत सारा स्टूडेंट है, उसमें आप एक स्टूडेंट को हम ऐड कर रहे हैं. So the name should be plural, and here the action should be represented using the HTTP methods like get method, post method, and those remaining methods. Remember, the method and the URI should not be same. That means for two endpoint, that means this get mapping and student, like that. Suppose that here it is a post and student, then it is acceptable. यहाँ पे URI same है, लेकिन method अलग है, तो ये acceptable है यहाँ पे, right? लेकिन अगर हम इसे भी कर दे, अगर कुछ इस तरह से post, then it is not acceptable. While relaunching your application, it will be treated as duplicate URI, duplicate endpoints. So be careful on that. So it should be get. Okay, now we have the service is already there. I have auto add student service dot get all student details, and simply it will return list of students. And what to do? Return new response entity. That is students slash HTTP status. Okay. That's it. So now I want to know that one interesting thing, that means हम चाहते हैं कि सर ये इंटरफेस है ना, इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो आप बता रहे हैं डायनेमिकली जनरेट होता है, रन टाइम क्रिएट होता है, वो क्लास उसका नाम क्या है? If I want to know that name, so simply we can do that. So go to your service IMPL जहाँ पे हम इस इंटरफेस का यूज कर रहे हैं, and I am putting a log message here like that system.out.println. and here student repository जो हमारा interface है dot get class dot get name. So this thing I just put that in a SOP statement. So this line will be printed on your console log. That means on a console log this line will be printed कि इस interface क्योंकि interface का variable है, this is the variable of your interface student repository. हम कह रहे हैं कि उसके class का हमें नाम चाहिए. This is the way to get the name of any class of a particular variable of a particular class. Let's run this program, see that whether our example is working or not. So pick your main class, right click, run as. Here is our postman, and I'm giving this request students and get, and let's check out that whether it's working or not. Yeah, it was started. Cool. So here we are able to see that the output, that is, here is 2 records are there and 200. Okay. Okay. Sanjay is saying that, sir, please turn on your camera if possible. Sanjay, actually, we will see that one. I will turn on my camera, but the thing is that please concentrate on the main topic. The main topic here, this is very, very important. Okay. So now quickly, let's turn on and see that here the next operation. And then after, we will see that some other interesting thing. But here, just see that the console. Check out the console here. This is the class name that is generated for that particular runtime for your interface. आपका interface जो student repository बना रखा है आपने, उसका ये हमारा implementation class बना है jdk.profor._proxy107. This class is a dynamically generated class. You have not created this one, right? And this class is, ये class कहीं पे है नहीं, ये dynamically बना हुआ है at runtime. You will not find this class in your API or in your framework, right? It will change when we next run this method. Yes, of course, Nitish. अगर हम फिर से run करें, तो it may change, and you are going to get that every time. You are going to get the different output. Abhirup Bakshi is saying that, is it aspect-oriented programming? It is similar to aspect-oriented programming. Like that, aspect-oriented programming is also using what proxy design pattern, so that we can weave something dynamically on in your application. Okay, so let's move on and try to implement some other methods. And I hope that means last class I have given this task to implement this method, so you might have implemented in the similar fashion. Isn't it? Please confirm. Cool. So let's write that other methods. So I'm going to write that another method, another service I want to export. So let's write that method. The method should be, I want to delete a student by a particular roll number. So delete student by roll number. And here it will take an integer roll number. And it throws student exception. And I want to return the return type. You can take string, you can take Boolean. So, but don't take void. You can take that one, but void we should not take for a particular method. क्यों? क्योंकि void क्या होगा, वो काम तो कर देगा, लेकिन वो पता नहीं चलेगा client को कि वो हो क्या रहा है. If you want to return something, that means what this is, you need to keep in your mind that whenever you're writing any service, those service should return some data. Because if you are writing the void here, void means this method will not return anything. It will perform the task as it is. ये हमारा delete तो कर देगा, लेकिन कुछ बताएगा नहीं हमें कि क्या हो रहा है. If you want to print something on SOP statement ये print आपके console पे हो. It will not going to print and not going to give the client information. So you need to to take some type of return time. That means by using that you can give some information to your client. और आप जब भी कोई सर्विस लिखो ना तो क्लाइंट को ख्याल में रख के लिखना है कि क्लाइंट को अगर ये कुछ, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल हमने यहाँ लिखा था गेट स्टूडेंट बाय रोल नंबर, तो यहाँ पे रोल नंबर के हिसाब से स्टूडेंट का डिटेल मिल जाएगा, और कुछ गलत हुआ तो एक्सेप्शन थ्रो होगा, क्लाइंट विल गेट एन एक्सेप्शन. सो यू नीड टू थिंक लाइक दैट. सो यू कैन टेक स्ट्रिंग कि हम यहाँ से क्या कर दें, हम एक मैसेज रिटर्न कर दें कि इट इज डिलीटेड और नॉट डिलीटेड. Some message we can return. We can return boolean, that means true or false. It's up to your wish. But the basic thing I'm going to return here, what student, the deleted student itself. कि जो स्टूडेंट को डिलीट कर रहा है वही स्टूडेंट उसे मिल जाएगा. इससे फायदा क्या होगा कि that means the client can do some further processing. He can take that deleted student in a recycle bin. He can move that, or he can took that deleted student in some other log file or some other, that means in other, you can say that in other database or anywhere he can persist that object. Whatever you want, he can do that. He can take a backup of that particular deleted student, right? But it's perfectly fine if you are taking the string or boolean as well. So that's cool. So here this method got signature. That means this is the signature of your method. Now we need to write that implementation. Let me stop the server and write that implementation of this particular method. Now you need to help me to implement this method. Today we are going to implement lots of other methods, like we are going to see the relationship, we are going to, if time permits, we are going to see the pagination and sorting as well. Okay, you need to help me to implement this method. First of all, what we need to do? Can anyone guess? First, we need to find the student. कि वो student है या नहीं, जिसे हम delete कर रहे हैं. We need to find the student, that student is there itself or not. अगर वो है तो ठीक है, उसे delete कर देंगे हम. नहीं है तो हम exception throw कर देंगे कि आप जिस student को delete करना चाहते हो वो है ही नहीं. So let's first try to do that. Student repository dot find by ID. Find by ID, roll number, and this roll number, it will throw what? It will return optional. तो हम यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ कर सकते हैं क्या? Or else throw, and here take a lambda expression, and here new student exception student does not exist with roll number plus roll number. So अगर student है, so basically this method will return the optional, and on that optional I am directly calling or else throw. तो अगर वो है तो हमें object दे दो, otherwise exception throw कर दो. और वो object अगर मिल जाएगा तो हम क्या करते हैं इसे? Student existing student. Is it okay? Please confirm this statement. Anyone having any doubt in this statement? आप चाहो तो इसे क्या कर सकते हो, यहाँ पे इस लाइन को आप ऑप्शनल वेरिएबल में रख लो, फिर आप उसे क्या करो, चेक कर लो, if it is there, otherwise not null or throw, you can do that one. Yeah, so directly this is a functional way to perform that programming. So single statement reduce your lots of statements to generate. Now here, if you'll notice, last class we have seen that this methods. So some of the methods of the JPA repository interface. We have seen, let's check out that what are the methods are there for same method. So if you just pass that particular object in the same method, so it will return the same object. That means the persisted object it will return. The difference is that if you have the auto-generated ID, so that ID will be there in the returned object. So what type of object? Let's say if you are persisting a product object, you are going to get the product object. If you are persisting the student object, you are going to get the persisted student object. The other method is count method. This count method will return the number of entities available. How many records are there? How many records are there? By using the count method, you can access. Next one, find by ID. We have using, since last day we are using a couple of times here, find by ID. It will return the optional. And what you can do with the optional, we have already seen that. Find all method also we have implemented. Now to delete or something, we have the three different method, and all method return type is void, like this. Delete by ID, you can pass the ID. Delete, directly pass the entity. Delete all, so it will delete entire record, right? So basically delete by ID also you can do that, but the return type is void. And if the ID is not there, that means, let's say that the record is not there, then you will not going to get anything. Suppose that if you're passing the wrong ID and that record is not deleted, so you are not going to get anything. So the better option to use this delete method. Cool. So here we got the existing student. हमें मिल गया इस roll number वाला जिसे delete करना है. हम क्या कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे? Student repository dot delete and pass this existing student. Pass this existing student, and simply what to do? You can return that existing student. Like this. तो अगर ये रोल नंबर नहीं मिला तो एक्सेप्शन थ्रो हो जाएगा, यहीं पे बात खत्म. कंट्रोल विल नेवर कम टू दिस स्टेटमेंट. और अगर ये ऑब्जेक्ट मिल गया, दैट ऑब्जेक्ट विल बी डिलीटेड एंड इट विल रिटर्न द existing student. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Cool. Now we need to go to the controller and generate the API for this particular method. So here I'm going to write a public response entity of student delete student by role handler. Okay, Abhijit is asking, but the existing student will be deleted. How will it return that? No, here just see that implementation. Don't confuse. Existing student यहाँ पे मिल गया है. अब ये जो delete हो रहा है ना, it doesn't mean that कि this is the method of your repository. It doesn't mean कि object हम delete कर रहे हैं. When you call the delete method on ORM or Hibernate, basically इसका जो representation है database के अंदर वो delete हो जाए. It will not delete or it will not make the garbage collector of this object. It's not like that कि object हमारा garbage collector eligible हो जाएगा, right? Only the represented record from your table will be deleted, right? And it will not make your object eligible to garbage collector. Your object is still there in your heap. So that object I'm returning. Okay, so here it is, controller. Now you need to suggest what should be the API. Tell me that which method we need to use here. Some person having some doubt. Let me check. Mohammed Zaid is asking, Nitish also. Object reference is not going to be break. No. Object reference doesn't actually, whenever you perform any kind of operation on our entity object, it is a basic rule of our ORM. जब भी हम ऑब्जेक्ट को डिलीट करते हैं, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि वो ऑब्जेक्ट हमारा गार्बेज कलेक्टेड के लिए एलिजिबल हो जाता है. This object is still having the memory. It is there in your RAM. This object is not eligible for garbage collector. So only the representation of the record, since it is the mapping information is there, representation of record will be deleted from the table. Cool. So Sanjay Kumar is saying that delete mapping. Yeah, it is correct. So here we need to use delete mapping. Delete mapping, and the URI should be /students, or it will take roll number. And here this roll number I need to inject. So integer roll number, integer roll number, and we need to annotate with @path. Cool. So let's write this method implementation. So here we just call student service dot delete student by role, pass this roll number. It will return the deleted student. It will just return the deleted student. You need to simply return new response entity. of deleted student dash HTTP status dot okay. Cool. That's it. So this is the method to perform this delete operation. Let's try to quickly check out that whether it's working or not. We need to go to that delete and call here students slash the roll number 2. If I try to give the roll number 20, so it should give that exception. And since I have stopped the server, so let me just relaunch. And I need to do one more important thing here, that is in an exception handler. I may not have written that exception handler part. So we need to handle that. Student exception is there, but we need to write the global exception handler and my error details. So I guess I have done that in our last example, in validation example. So let me quickly take that one. So this is my error details and global exception handler. Copy this and paste that in a exception package. Stop the server. And this is global exception handler. Right now, I'm not using this exception handler, that is method or validation. So, but let it be. It is not throwing any exception, so let it be as it is. हमें exception handler लिखना होगा student exception के लिए. So let's quickly copy this, or let me create that from fresh. That is public response entity of my error details. And here, Nitish is asking, sir, why we need to stop and server by ourselves again and again. It should be done automatically. Yes, Nitish, it is. Actually, we have added the dev tool, so it will automatically do that. But since you are doing any major changes, for example, suppose you are adding something in your pom.xml or any other major changes if you are doing, still it is recommended to restart your, stop the server, write your code, and then launch your application. Otherwise, जब भी थोड़ा सा भी सेव करेंगे ना, अपने आप वो deploy होता चला जाएगा. Okay, so here there is student exception handler, and this should be annotated with exception handler student exception dot class. That's cool. You can take that student exception SE. Now you need to compose your object. My error details ERR is equal to new my error details. We can take that web request as well as a second parameter. And ERR dot set timestamp local date time dot now ERR dot set message se dot get message and ERR dot get details, and you can take request dot get description false, and at the last return new response entity ERR and HTTP status dot that request. Cool. Somebody is asking what is a web request? Web request, nothing you can take. You can simply skip this parameter as well. लेकिन ये हम यहाँ पे false pass कर दिया ना get description. So you are going to get a particular URI on your response. That means किस URI से आपको ये exception मिला है. You can simply, you can take some other parameter or you can pass any other details as well. It is your choice. Since it's a string, so you can pass any string message. Okay, just like that, if you observe here, in this, I have just passed any string message validation error in our previous example. So it's your wish, you can pass any other details, but the thing is that the details should be meaningful. So this is my what exception handler, and that's cool. So we should be able to relaunch the application and check out that whether it's working or not. So this is a delete, and I'm passing any invalid roll number. It should throw the exception, which will look like this. So this is the web request. We give the URI of that particular name. Okay, now if I will pass that roll number to, it should be deleted. And you are going to get the deleted student. Check out that now how many students you have. You can check. Somebody is saying that why return as false. You can put that true and check out that which type of description you are getting. You are going to get lots of other description as well. Apart from that, your URI, you are going to get some other details, right? So if you pass the false, so only you are going to get a URI, not other details. Now I'm getting this student. So all the students should return, and here this time only one student we are getting in this list. Let's confirm that key one student I was able to delete. Cool. So this method is also working. So shall we start to writing the other method? We have seen that get operation, get all operation, save operation, and delete operation. What are the other methods are remaining in a basic CRUD operation? Update. So let's quickly do that update. So update you can perform using two ways. One thing, in entire object you want to update, and which detail you want, I don't know. So I want to replace the entire, that means resource, with the supplied resource. The second one, I want to do the partial updation. कि कुछ ही चीज को update करना है. We are going to see that both over. So how we are going to perform. So first thing I'm going to pass public, and return type I'm mentioning as student because I want to get the updated student. But of course you can take the string also. String also you can take. And method signature I'm taking update student details. And here I'm taking that details as student. And if this student existence is not there, मतलब हम कह रहे हैं कि आप ये डिटेल से existing resource को update कर दो. Please replace the existing student object with this object. Okay. But if I'm passing this student और इसका कोई existing detail है ही नहीं, तो क्या होगा? If I'm supplying any wrong student object, तो वो हमारे पास already पहले से है नहीं, तो क्या होगा? It should throws student exception. Cool. It should throw the student exception. So this is my method signature. And it will return the updated student. Let's quickly implement this method. So put the cursor, add unimplemented method. Okay. So since it is an update method, you need to think logically. What is that? कि जो student pass कर रहा है client, उसका काम क्या है? कि existing student object को इस object से हम replace कर दें. Isn't it? Please confirm. Yes. अब existing student को replace कर दो, कैसे पता चलेगा कि ये student का representation already है या नहीं है? इस student जो supply कर रहा है वो already हमारे पास है या नहीं है, कैसे पता चलेगा? By using the ID of this supplied student, right? So what we can do that first, student repository dot find by ID, and where if we are get that ID, that means supplied student dot get roll number. Isn't it? Please confirm. Yes. And it will return what? Optional. This time also I can utilize that Suryakant is saying, but the IDs are auto-generated. ID auto-generated कब हो रहा है सूर्यकांत? जब वो ऐड कर रहा है, कोई स्टूडेंट को रजिस्टर कर रहे हैं. लेकिन जब अपडेट करेंगे ना, तो हमें आईडी देनी पड़ेगी, उस स्टूडेंट की आईडी हमें पास करनी पड़ेगी. There is a difference. Got it, सूर्यकांत? जब हम अपडेट करेंगे तो उस स्टूडेंट की आईडी के साथ से सारे डिटेल पास करने पड़ेंगे और क्या नए चेंजेस कर रहे हैं. We cannot modify that update. For example, I am giving you the scenario. Let's say that I have a UI. I have a UI, and in that UI, suppose that I have some student table. In that, all the details is showing there. Uska sara naam, pata, address, mobile number, everything is showing in the table. And there is a button beside that update. जब हम उस पर क्लिक करें तो क्या होगा कि एक दूसरा पेज खुल जाएगा जहां पे वो सारे डिटेल फिल हो जाएंगे, जहां पे उसकी आईडी भी आ जाएगी, नेम भी आ जाएगा, मार्क्स, एड्रेस, एवरीथिंग विल कम. राइट। वहां पे हम क्या कर सकते हैं, जब हम अपडेट करेंगे तो उसकी आईडी को हम अपडेट नहीं करते। आईडी शुड बी मार्क्ड एज व्हाट, रीड ओनली। कि आईडी आप सिर्फ वो देख सकते हो, रोल नंबर आप देख सकते हो, लेकिन उसे आप अपडेट नहीं कर सकते। हाँ, बाकी के डिटेल को आप अपडेट कर सकते हो। तो जब हम फॉर्म बनाते हैं तो उस आईडी को क्या कर देते हैं, रीड ओनली। बाकी के डिटेल्स को हम क्या कर देते हैं वहां पे, दे कैन चेंज, because based on the id only you can identify this object is there or not. Make sense? So here we need to give the student object along with the id. Along with the id also we need to pass that student object. There are various ways. You can take that id or roll number using a path variable. Also you can take another parameter as an integer and you can take the id. It's your wish. अगर आप चाहते हो स्टूडेंट के डिटेल्स को हम ऐसे लें, या फिर हम स्टूडेंट के ऑब्जेक्ट में हम पाथ वेरिएबल से उसके आईडी को ले लें, so it's your wish. Let's first focus on this, then after I will give you that idea as well. Okay, so here I need to check that this student is there or not by checking the id from this particular student. Okay, it will return you the optional of the student. हम यहाँ पे भी हम functional programming use कर सकते हैं, but let's go with the normal approach, so you'll get that both id. Always prefer what is your functional approach, this way. Okay, opt dot is present. Write that here. If opt dot is present, तो क्या करना है आपको? That is opt dot get. You are getting that object. Which object? Student existing code. Else the new student object exception invalid student supply, like this. और अगर है तो हमने उस वहां से ऑब्जेक्ट निकाल लिया है यहाँ से, और अभी क्या करना होगा हमें, इस वाले ऑब्जेक्ट को हमें रिप्लेस कर, मींस नए वाले स्टूडेंट को अपडेट करना है। तो अपडेट करने के लिए रिपोजिटरी के अंदर कोई मेथड नहीं है हमारे पास, वी नीड टू सिंपली कॉल द सेम मेथड इटसेल्फ। डोंट बी कंफ्यूज्ड, लेट मी जस्ट फर्स्ट राइट दैट वन, स्टूडेंट रिपोजिटरी dot save and pass this supplied student, and here simply return this. That's it. Now here you may confuse here कि सर आपने existing student को निकाला है और सेव कर दिया क्या यहाँ पे इस student को. Okay, and you are calling the same method. Why you are not calling the update method? Listen, very important point. This same method will perform as a save or update. So here this same method will act as save or update. Save or update based on id field. Based on id field. Listen carefully. Whatever object you are passing in the save, it will check कि इसकी सप्लाइड ऑब्जेक्ट का आईडी हमारे पास ऑलरेडी है या नहीं, किसी और एंटिटी के अंदर उसकी आईडी है या नहीं। अगर है तो ये क्या करेगा, इट विल एक्ट एज अ मर्ज मेथड, दैट मींस इट विल मर्ज द रिकॉर्ड, it will update this existing object. So it will perform, it will, you can say the better word is what, act as save or update. That means it will merge the record. It will merge the record. So based on the id field, if the supplied object does not have the id, मतलब हम अगर आईडी नहीं है इसके अंदर या फिर उसकी आईडी का रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑलरेडी नहीं है, देन इट विल परफॉर्म द इंसर्ट ऑपरेशन, सेव ऑपरेशन। लेकिन सप्लाइड एंटिटी की आईडी पहले से किसी आईडी से हमारे पास है ऑलरेडी, देन इट विल परफॉर्म व्हाट, मर्ज ऑपरेशन। इट विल परफॉर्म द अपडेट और मर्ज ऑपरेशन, इट विल मर्ज दैट रिकॉर्ड। डज इट मेक सेंस? प्लीज कंफर्म। तो रिपोजिटरी के अंदर हमारे पास कोई अपडेट मेथड नहीं है हमारे पास. If you check out that here, you don't have any kind of update method. Let me show you. Dot update. We don't have any update method. We need to use what? Same method itself. So here you can read some documentation here. Save this given entity. Use return instance for further operation. as the save operation might have changed the entity instance completely. And here you can check out that. In case of the entity is null, when the entity uses optimistic locking and the version as thrown database, maybe we need to go to the official documentation for this one. Here it is not able to show. Okay, so we need to pass that, call the save method and pass this student. That means supplied student. I will pass this. तो अगर वो ऑब्जेक्ट है, ठीक है, मतलब पता चल गया कि स्टूडेंट एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट है हमारे पास, तो हम क्या कर देंगे यहाँ पे, हम इस ऑब्जेक्ट को हम, हमारे पास और भी ऑप्शन है, हम क्या कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे, इस एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट में हम सेटल मेथड से वैल्यू को यहाँ पे मर्ज कर सकते हैं वन बाय वन. फॉर एग्जांपल यू कैन डू व्हाट, एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट डॉट सेट नेम स्टूडेंट डॉट गेट नेम, like that. Existing student dot set address student dot get address. Existing student dot set marks and student dot get marks. And you can pass here what, existing student. This is also you can do that. So this is another option, you can do that. So ये हमारा existing object student के अंदर तो ID हमारे पास मिल ही चुकी है, या इसके पास ID होगी, और ये हमने बाकी डिटेल्स यहाँ से पिक करके इसमें हमने सेटर मेथड से वैल्यू को सेट कर दिया है, right? And we are passing this existing student. So that object will have the ID, it will perform the update operation. Okay, so Sarthak is saying that, sir, if you are not using set, then we don't need existing student. Yes, if ये एक ऑप्शन है, आप या तो ऐसे कर सकते हो, and you can, let me just cut this statement. Like this, or you can put that in a comment. And directly you can return student repository. And pass here the student. Both option you can perform. Because यहाँ पे हम इसकी वैलिडनेस की ऑब्जेक्ट हमारे पास है या नहीं, इसकी आईडी से हम चेक कर चुके हैं. ये यहाँ पे स्टेटमेंट तभी आएगी जब ये हमारा क्या होगा, दैट मींस इफ द स्टूडेंट इज नॉट देयर इट विल थ्रो द एक्सेप्शन. बट इस ब्लॉक में स्टूडेंट यहाँ पे तभी होगा जब सप्लाइड स्टूडेंट की आईडी मैच कर जाएगी किसी एग्जिस्टिंग रिसोर्स के साथ. एंड इफ इट इज देयर, देन वी गेट दैट स्टूडेंट एंड देन we just merge this supplied student object, right? Sir, getting confused between line 89 to 91, 89 and 91, 89 this one and this one 91. Listen carefully, बहुत ध्यान से सुनना, बहुत ही सिंपल है. अभी हमारा काम क्या है, एग्जिस्टिंग रिसोर्स को अपडेट करना, जो पहले से हमारे पास रिकॉर्ड है उसे हमें अपडेट करना है, ठीक है. अब क्या डिटेल अपडेट करना है हमें नहीं पता है, लेकिन ऑफ कोर्स रोल नंबर तो अपडेट नहीं करना है, रोल नंबर तो उसका रहेगा ही रहेगा सेम, लेकिन बाकी की डिटेल हमें अपडेट करनी है, राइट? ओके, तो पहले हम क्या कर रहे हैं, ये हमारा ऑब्जेक्ट है. अब इस ऑब्जेक्ट के अंदर क्या डिटेल आ रही है, रोल नंबर को छोड़ के हमें बाकी की डिटेल को अपडेट कर देना. तो हम पहले क्या कर रहे हैं कि स्टूडेंट की वैलिडनेस को चेक कर रहे हैं कि ये वैलिड स्टूडेंट है या नहीं, ये स्टूडेंट का रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑलरेडी है या नहीं. तो इसके लिए हमने स्टूडेंट का रोल नंबर हमने चेक कर लिया, फाइंड बाय आईडी, वी गेट दैट हियर ऑप्शनल. और ऑप्शनल में अगर ऑब्जेक्ट है तो एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट हमें मिल गया. टिल हियर एवरीवन इज कंफर्टेबल, प्लीज कंफर्म. कूल. और नहीं मिला तो एक्सेप्शन थ्रो कर देगा कि आपने जो स्टूडेंट पास किया वो हमारे पास है ही नहीं, हम उसे नहीं बदल सकते. ओके, सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट स्टेप. नाउ द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज दैट हियर सपोज पहला ऑप्शन तो ये है कि एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट हमें मिल गया, हमने इसके रोल नंबर को छोड़ के इससे सारे डिटेल को निकाले हमने, और हमने इसे चेंज कर दिया और इसे हमने सेव कर दिया यहाँ पे. ये ऑप्शन भी सबके लिए कंफर्टेबल है, प्लीज कंफर्म. हमने एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट के सारे डिटेल को बदल दिया यहाँ पे, रोल नंबर को छोड़ के बाकी सारी चीजें को सेटर मेथड से इसके स्टेट को चेंज कर दिया, और हमने फिर से सेव मेथड को कॉल कर दिया बाय पासिंग दिस एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा कि ये हमारा मर्ज हो जाएगा पुराने वाले रिकॉर्ड से, ये रिकॉर्ड हमारा मर्ज हो जाएगा क्योंकि इसकी आईडी पहले से है हमारे पास. और बाकी के डिटेल हमारे चेंज हो गए हैं, तो यहाँ पे ये सेम मेथड चेक करेगा उसकी आईडी पहले से ही है, तो बाकी की डिटेल को मर्ज कर देगा। ठीक है, लेकिन हमारे पास दूसरा ऑप्शन ये है कि हमने उसके वैलिडनेस को चेक कर ली, राइट, वी आर चेकिंग दैट दिस स्टूडेंट इज ऑलरेडी देयर। अब हम क्या कर रहे हैं कि कह रहे हैं कि ये स्टूडेंट को आप हटा दो और ये वाले स्टूडेंट ऑब्जेक्ट को आप सेव कर दो। व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस, इट विल चेक हियर आल्सो कि यहाँ पे भी आईडी इसकी है, राइट, सेम आईडी है, सेम आईडी मतलब बाकी की डिटेल हमारे मर्ज हो जाए। सो यू हैव द बोथ ऑप्शन। डज इट मेक सेंस? प्लीज कंफर्म। Now, in which case we should use this option, in which case we are using this option? The thing is कि कभी कभी क्या होता है कि हमारे पास जो सप्लाइड ऑब्जेक्ट है, इट इज नॉट लाइक दैट योर एंटिटी ऑब्जेक्ट विल कम। कभी कभी हम कोई डीटीओ ऑब्जेक्ट पास कर देते हैं, डीटीओ ऑब्जेक्ट में कुछ ही डिटेल्स होंगे, वो ऑब्जेक्ट हम पास कर देते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम पासिंग एनी डीटीओ ऑब्जेक्ट लाइक स्टूडेंट डीटीओ। डीटीओ क्या होता है? कस्टमाइज ऑब्जेक्ट, कि हमारे स्टूडेंट एंटिटी में फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपके 10 रिकॉर्ड है, आपके पास है रोल नंबर, नेम, एड्रेस, फर्स्ट नेम, लास्ट नेम, मोबाइल नंबर, ईमेल एड्रेस, लॉट्स ऑफ थिंग। लेकिन हमें क्या करना है कि डीटीओ में हम 4 ही फील्ड रखते हैं, रोल नंबर, नेम एंड सम अदर डिटेल्स, राइट, एड्रेस एंड मार्क्स, ओनली 4 डिटेल आई एम टेकिंग। सो दिस इज अ कस्टमाइज ऑब्जेक्ट, और हम कह रहे हैं कि इस कस्टमाइज ऑब्जेक्ट की जो डिटेल है उससे आप पहले वाले ऑब्जेक्ट को चेंज करें। सो दैट टाइम यू कैन यूज दिस अप्रोच। फिर आप वहां पे इस ऑब्जेक्ट को सेव नहीं कर सकते हो, बिकॉज दिस ऑब्जेक्ट इज नॉट योर एंटिटी क्लास ऑब्जेक्ट, इट इज योर डीटीओ ऑब्जेक्ट। So that time you need to take the value from this object, set that value to your entity and persist your entity. I hope you got the point. Please confirm. Good. So yes, the ideal situation, this is the better option. So let me just put that in a comment and uncomment. Good. Now let's check out that whether it's working or not. First of all, we need to go for writing one controller for this one endpoint. So go to the controller, and here we need to write public response entity of student that will return that update student details handler, and it will take student with a request body. Like this. Can you guess what the endpoint should be here? Which method we need to use? At the rate. Very good. Put mapping and slash students, like this. And here we need to write that method, that is student service dot update student details. Pass this student, it will return the updated student and return new response entity, that is updated student http status dot accepted. Cool. So this endpoint is done. Now let's check out that whether it's working or not. Right now I'm checking that here. Select star from student. I have only one record. Let's try to update this one. So I'm going to, my application is up and running. Open that postman, and here select the put slash the student, but we need to pass in the body. So this time, if I will not pass the roll number, will it be updated? No. If I will not pass the roll number, it will not going to get updated. Let's try to do that. So if I will try to send the request, so it is giving internal server error because the ID value is null. Because ID value is null. By the way, I need to write one another exception handler for exception, because ये exception handler हमने नहीं लिखा है. It is not throwing a student exception. But if I am passing the roll number, so let me pass that roll number. column and I'm giving, let's say that 10. क्या 10 नंबर वाले रोल नंबर का कोई स्टूडेंट है हमारे पास? No, it is not there, right? So in that case, what will happen? Let's see that. So if I give the request, so it is saying that invalid student supplied. Hey, इस तरह का कोई स्टूडेंट नहीं है. अगर हम पास करते हैं यहाँ पे रोल नंबर 1, हाँ इस नाम का है, हम चाहते हैं इसका नेम बदल दें. So I'm giving the name as Ravi and address should be Mumbai. Marks I'm giving 950. Will it be updated or not updated? The existing one was Delhi Ram 820. This time it will be updated. Okay. So yes, it got updated. 202 accepted. Because based on the roll number, it is able to identify whether it is there or not. I hope you got the point here. Please confirm. Cool. So one person is asking one doubt. Let me check. Sir, if instead of put, if you pass post here, I think post also working here. Listen, post also, if you can do that. Post also you can use, but it is not. We have to use the convention. HTTP methods are given to perform your task. हम चाहे तो post से भी हम update कर सकते हैं, right? Post is idempotent. I hope you know that. So basically, what you need to do here, some conventions are there. Using that, you need to follow. मतलब आप delete method से भी value को आप get कर सकते हो. ऐसा नहीं है कि delete method से हम सिर्फ delete कर पा रहे हैं. Delete method से भी आप value को आप access कर सकते हो. Put method से आप post कर सकते हो. Post method से आप put कर सकते हो. But this is, we always stick to the main part. That means which HTTP method we need to use for what purpose. So put always use for updation. Never post that any record. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Good. So this is the way we can update that record. And here, if you'll notice, this record got updated. Here it is. Cool. So this API is also working. Now let's quickly write one other method for update that will for partial update. And then we will see that how we are going to make this one. Yes, it will be a patch. So let's try to do that. Let's say that I want to change some data from this record, not entire thing. The main problem with this approach is what? हमें सिर्फ चेंज करना है. एग्जांपल, हमें सिर्फ मार्क्स अपडेट करना है, तो आप ऐसा नहीं पास कर सकते हो. यू कैन नॉट डू दैट वन बाय दिस वे कि रोल नंबर 1, ठीक है, रोल नंबर तो देना ही है हमें, और हमने पास कर दिया मार्क्स. इफ आई विल पास द रिकॉर्ड लाइक दिस, देन व्हाट विल हैपन? कैन एनीवन गेस? Will it be updated or not updated? Yes, it will be updated. It will be updated and remaining value will become null. Let me show you. So if I just pass this record, so here see that name and address will become null. See that in your table like this. So you need to give the entire record. You need to pass that entire data as well. This is the main problem with this update. कि हमें सिर्फ वो डेटा नहीं, हमें सारे डेटा जिसमें हम चेंज कर रहे हैं वो भी, और जिसे हम चेंज नहीं कर रहे हैं वो भी हमें पास करना पड़ेगा. रिमेनिंग ऑल, दैट मींस अदर डिटेल्स आल्सो वी नीड टू पास. दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ इंटायर अपडेट. ये हम कब सिचुएशन में यूज करते हैं? जब हमें मालूम नहीं कि कौन सा फील्ड अपडेट करना है. यूजर चाहे तो इसे अपडेट करे, यूजर चाहे तो इसे करे, तो हमें क्या करना है? सबका इनिशियल डेटा हमें पुट करना पड़ेगा. But if you want to do only the marks updation, then we need to use the patch. Sanjay saying that if you apply the validation, then it will give an exception. Yes, if you want to, you can apply the validation also, but it is not a proper way. If you want to do the partial updation, we need to use a different approach. Let's try to write a method. I just want to change the marks of a particular student. So let's write that one method. So this time I'm going to give the grace marks to a particular student. Okay, so public, we take that as student, update student. और इस मेथड में हम दो पैरामीटर लेते हैं. पहला रोल नंबर, कि किस स्टूडेंट का मार्क्स हमें चेंज करना है, और दूसरा इंटीजर ग्रेस मार्क्स. एंड कोई एक्सेप्शन भी थ्रो होगा? यस और नो? यस, क्योंकि अगर रोल नंबर गलत है तो थ्रो स्टूडेंट एक्सेप्शन. गुड. सो दिस विल बी माय मेथड सिग्नेचर. इस बार हमें बस एक स्टूडेंट का जिसका रोल नंबर हम पास करेंगे उसका हमें मार्क्स को हमें ग्रेस मार्क्स देना है. जो भी मार्क्स देंगे उससे वो वैल्यू उसकी अपडेट हो जाएगी. लेट्स क्विकली इंप्लीमेंट दिस मेथड एज वेल. Add unimplemented method and write this implementation. You need to help me to implement this method. पहला काम क्या है? वही काम जो हमें फाइंड करना है. That means let me copy this or let me write it from beginning. So student repository dot find by ID, pass this roll number or else throw new student exception. Student does not exist with roll number. Otherwise, give me the student object, hold that in a student existing. Cool. अब क्या करना है? हमें एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट मिल गया है, हमें उसके मार्क्स के स्टेट को चेंज कर देना है. तो एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट डॉट सेट मार्क्स existing student dot get marks plus base marks. अब क्या करना है? Please confirm. What we need to do here? Please respond here. Just we need to save this object. So student repository dot save existing student and simply do the return. Over. This time also we are doing the similar kind of thing, whatever we have done in the previous time. So we got that existing student, सारे डिटेल है इसमें, इसके मार्क्स वाले वैल्यू को अपडेट कर दिया, फिर से हमने सेव कर दिया. सेव मेथड क्या करेगा? चेक करेगा कि ये ऑब्जेक्ट पहले से मौजूद है, बाकी की डिटेल हमारे मर्ज हो जाएंगे. मेक सेंस? प्लीज कंफर्म. Cool. Let's write that controller part. So here I'm going to write that here, that controller. The controller should be, you need to help me here to write the controller. Repeat that parts once, sir. Nitish is asking. Very simple, Nitish. Very simple. See here, this method. Basically, I'm talking about this one. Service IMP. हमें मार्क्स अपडेट करना है, इस स्टूडेंट का इस मार्क्स से अपडेट करना है, राइट? तो हमने क्या किया? पहले फाइंड बाय आईडी, वी गॉट दैट स्टूडेंट इफ इट इज देयर और नॉट. अगर नहीं है तो थ्रो करे एक्सेप्शन, अगर है तो हमें स्टूडेंट का ऑब्जेक्ट दे दे. वी गॉट दैट स्टूडेंट एंड देन वी चेंज द स्टेट ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट by calling the setter method. We got the previous marks and we added this grace marks and we change the state of the object. And then we call again same method by passing this object. तो ये same method क्या करेगा? It will perform either as a what? Insert or update. तो इस बार ये इंसर्ट नहीं करेगा क्योंकि इस एग्जिस्टिंग ऑब्जेक्ट का आईडी हमारे पास पहले से मौजूद है. तो वो क्या करेगा? बाकी के डिटेल को मर्ज कर देगा. बाकी के सारे डिटेल इसमें है, मार्क्स वैल्यू अपडेट हो चुका है, वो वैल्यू हमारा अपडेट हो जाएगा. I hope you got the point. Cool. Let's write that here, the implementation of this method, that is passing this grace mark. So write the controller. So I'm going to write here public response entity of student. You can write that string also, update student marks handler. Okay. And we need to use here @patch mapping. Patch mapping slash students. और हमें रोल नंबर चाहिए, ग्रेस मार्क्स चाहिए. तो ये दोनों वैल्यू लेने के दो तरीके. आप चाहो तो यहाँ पे दो पाथ वेरिएबल ले लो. वी कैन टेक मोर देन वन पाथ वेरिएबल, दैट इज रोल नंबर स्लैश जी मार्क्स. Of course, you can take that one. And here you need to take that two path variable you can include. There is no any problem. But what I'm going to do that this grace marks I'm going to take as a request parameter. It's your wish. कि आप किस तरह से लेना चाहते. So in this example, I will show you that the value we can take as a request parameter as well. So let's quickly take that here. So this roll number first we need to inject. So integer roll number. This should be injected using path variable. That is roll number. And I'm taking the another parameter. That is integer G marks. Like this. And this one I'm going to inject using what? At the rate request parameter. Request parameter. Like this. Let me put that enter here so that you get the clarity. So one value I'm taking as a path variable, roll number here. And second value I'm expecting as a request parameter. Path variable and request param both are same. No, request parameter is different. Request parameter को हमें question mark से pass करना पड़ेगा. Got it? I hope you got there. You got it. You know about that request parameter. So request parameter को question mark हमें G mark से हमें pass करना पड़ेगा और roll number हमें path के साथ pass करना पड़ेगा. And this value should be supplied using question mark. And that value will be injected in this variable. So we have this method signature is ready now. Student service dot update student marks. Pass this roll number, pass this marks, and here you're going to get the student updated. Wrap this in a response entity. That is updated student, HTTP status, okay, or accepted. That's it. Let's check out that by updating the particular student and calling this API. We need to use patch mapping students, roll number using path variable, and this request parameter we need to pass using G marks value. You can take that the default value as well. कि अगर हम value pass ना करें तब यहाँ पे क्या value होगा, that value also we can specify by using this value is equal to G marks, comma default value. कि अगर हम कोई value pass ना करें अगर तो ये क्या consider होना चाहिए, that will be, let's say that it should be in a double quote like this. You can make this one optional as well. So let it be just I'm removing this default value for the time being. और हम देते हैं यहाँ पे सिर्फ like this. Okay, let's check out that this API is working properly or not. Right now the here 950. First of all, I'm going to update this student once again by using the previous API. That means put here Ravi Mumbai 950, same roll number, so that we get the proper record. Yeah, it is got changed. Here it is. Now I want to give 20 grace marks to this student. So how to call this endpoint? We need to use the patch slash students slash roll number क्या है इसका 1. अब हमें क्या करना है, रिक्वेस्ट पैरामीटर पास करना है. कैसे? क्वेश्चन मार्क G marks is equal to 20. Like this. This is a way to pass the request parameter. You can use either this way or you can just remove this. Go to the here, you can check out that params and you can pass the key. Key should be what? G marks. See here, as soon as I'm starting typing here, automatically it's got appended in your URI. जैसे हम यहाँ पे टाइप करेंगे ना, ये अपने आप यहाँ पे append हो जाएगा. So key G marks. Check out that. And value here you can give that 20 like this. Now you don't need to pass this entire details, not required. This is your, by the way, response. So in a body section you don't need to pass any details. And let's check out that, give the request. And here this got updated 970. Am I clear? Please confirm. लेकिन अगर हमने ग्रेस मार्क्स पास नहीं किया तो क्या होगा? We are going to get an exception. See that? Here it will throw an exception, that is bad request. And here G marks for method parameter is not present. इस केस में आप इसे ऑप्शनल बना सकते हो या फिर इसका आप डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू भी सेट कर सकते हो. So in that case you need to hold that in a value, and second parameter you can take as a default value. Let's say that I'm giving 10 like this. अब अगर कोई वैल्यू हम ना पास करें तो default value 10 it will be there. You can make it as optional as well. You can make it as optional as well. So let's check out that. This time I'm not passing any value, so just giving that 1. So it got added by 10. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Cool. So we have seen that till now all the basic CRUD operation. That means creating, updating, deleting, updation we have seen using patch or using as well. Request body से कैसे करेंगे if possible? No, request body we are not using. We are using here what? This is the data path variable and request parameter. आपको request body use करना है, then you can take this way, right? Okay. Nisha is saying if you don't know user which part he want to update, which method is suitable. अगर हमें ये नहीं पता कि क्या चीज अपडेट करना है, मार्क्स अपडेट करना है, एड्रेस या फिर ईमेल या फिर फोन नंबर, then in that case you have this option. You need to take a DTO class. You need to take the object of what were the fields you are expecting from the user to update. And in that case, you need to take that object and you can, let's say I'm giving one example. So suppose I want that to update only 2 fields, address and marks. Right? In that case, what you can do, you can take in a model, you can create one class called student DTO. Student DTO. And in this, you can take only those fields. That is, I'm taking private string address, private integer marks. Let's say that only partial field I want, but सिर्फ ये 2 field हम चाहते हैं अपडेट करना, एक नहीं 2. Suppose इसमें आपके स्टूडेंट क्लास में 20-25 डिटेल है, हम चाहते हैं सिर्फ 5 या 6 डिटेल को ही अपडेट करे यूजर. In that case, the best suitable is one to take the DTO class and take that 0 argument constructor, parameterized constructor, getter setter, and string. Okay. Now what I need to do, I need to take that detail in this DTO object. So in my controller, student controller here, we need to take, let's say that this is your update, put mapping. So update is student detail. Here we need to take the detail in a student DTO. हम student DTO से value को लेंगे, student DTO like this. Pass this student DTO like this. And in your service also you need to modify this. This should be student DTO. Like this. Now go to the implementation. This should be the student DTO. And now you need to take that roll number. अब ये roll number कहाँ से मिलेगा? इसके लिए आपको दूसरा field भी लेना पड़ेगा. That is what you need to take that another field. You can take here integer roll number. And now let me just go to the service here also. Integer roll number like this. And here it is. This should be roll number like this. So this method got implemented. Here we need to get that, check out that this student is there or not. And from this student, we are just going to check DTO dot. Let me just comment it out. This should be student DTO dot get address, student DTO dot get marks. And then हमने मैप कर दिया अपने ऑब्जेक्ट को इसके डिटेल से और इसे हमने ऐड कर दिया. Cool. We have done that one. Just only one thing is remaining by calling this method. I need to pass that roll number as well. So we need to take that here slash roll. And this roll we need to add using path variable. Over. And you can call this one by passing this DTO, comma, roll. That's it. So this is the way you can do that updation. So both approach you can use whatever the, so this is the better approach. So हम यहाँ स्टूडेंट के डिटेल को चेंज कर रहे हैं. कौन सा स्टूडेंट, उसका रोल नंबर हम पास कर रहे हैं पाथ वेरिएबल से. क्या डिटेल हम चेंज करने वाले हैं, दैट विल बी देयर इन दिस डीटीओ ऑब्जेक्ट. सिर्फ दो फील्ड यूजर के पास चॉइस है. इसका ऑब्जेक्ट जब बनाएगा तो दो ही फील्ड वो दे सकता है, नेम एंड एड्रेस. और वो दोनों नेम एंड एड्रेस जाएगा कहाँ पे, अपडेट स्टूडेंट डिटेल्स के पास. दैट ऑब्जेक्ट इज देयर, हियर इट इज इन सर्विस IMPM अपडेट डिटेल्स. और इस रोल नंबर से हमने पहले फाइंड कर लिया है कि वो स्टूडेंट है या नहीं. हमें स्टूडेंट मिल गया, हमने इस डीटीओ से वैल्यू को निकाल के यहाँ पे इसे सेट कर दिया एग्जिस्टिंग स्टूडेंट के पास और इस वैल्यू को सेव कर दिया. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Good. Now if I want to update this value, then what are the options? So let's try to call this endpoint once again, this update method. अब इस endpoint को कॉल करने का दूसरा तरीका होगा, that means we need to use put students. कौन सा student? You need to pass the roll number as a path variable. And in the body क्या क्या चीजें पास करनी पड़ेगी आपको? Who will tell? In the body, what were the things we need to pass? Only the address and marks, right? So you need to pass address. That is, I'm giving, let's say that Pune and marks. That is, I'm giving 700. That's it. Because this the details you are expecting in your DTO object. और सिर्फ आप यूजर को अलाउ कर रहे हो यही दो डिटेल आप पास करो, तो ये दोनों पास होंगे और इन ऑब्जेक्ट में ये मर्ज हो जाएगा. Let me just quickly send the request, and here it's got updated. So we have seen that both the approaches, whichever is suitable, you can use accordingly. And here, if you pass that wrong roll number, so you are going to get an exception. Here, student hai nahi hamare paas. So this will be not going to get it. I hope now you will be clear. Please confirm. Cool. So we have completed this entire CRUD operation. Here is the time of a short break. And after the break, we are going to see that some other interesting thing. That means how we are going to keep, that is the super interesting part. How we are going to keep those methods. That means another our method inside this student repository interface. हम इस interface में अपने method भी कैसे रख सकते हैं? Because till now we are using all the methods which are inherited from the JPA repository. Ritik Rana is saying that, sir, how to add date? We'll see that with one example. We'll see that. Don't worry. So it's the 10:20. So we'll come back by what time? 10:25. Is it okay? 5-minute break? Or let's say that 10 minutes. Is it okay now? Cool. So we'll come back by 10:30 and then we'll continue. So the named parameter is colon. So we need to use here what? Let's say that colon nm. So in that case, we need to use here at the rate. Like this. So this param nm will be replaced with name. This is your what? Named parameter. Let me put that in a comment. And if you want to use the positional parameter, you need to use this question mark 1. You don't need to use any kind of annotation. Does it make sense? If you have the multiple parameters, then you need to use question mark 2, question mark 3, and you need to inject the similar way if you want.
For example, I want to use name is equal to 1 and s dot marks is equal to question mark 2. And this should be integer. So first parameter will be substituted by name. Second parameter will be substituted by marks. Does it make sense? This is the positional parameter. In case of named parameter, nm, and marks is equal to mr. Here you need to use @param. This should be nm, and @param mr. Got the point? Please confirm. Variable name in parameter can be different. Yes, anything you can do. मतलब हम कह रहे हैं कि nm जो वैल्यू है वो यहाँ पे नेम से चेंज हो जाए, like this. So I'm just going to remove this one. Like this. Now let's see that this method is working properly or not. This is the way how you can use that JPQL. It's your wish. You can use anyone. Don't mix up. Either use the named parameter or use the positional parameter. Don't use mix-up approach. Now I'm going to use the same method. So what I'm going to do in my student service IMPL, where this method I just called, find by name. This time I'm calling different method. That is get students by name. That's it. Remaining things will be same. Let's check out that this is working out. So my application got started, and here I'm giving the Ravi name, and here you should get that same. I hope you got the point how to use the JPQL. Please confirm. So if you know the JPQL, you can use limit and all those type of complex query your wish. You can utilize accordingly. Now, next thing. Suppose sir, I don't want to use get the all the details. Suppose student class में बहुत सारे detail है. इसमें roll number है, name है, marks है, address है, बहुत सारी चीजें. हमें सारे student का नाम चाहिए. I don't need that entire details. I need only one particular column or one field. Or I want to get only 2 or 3 fields. I don't want you to get all the details. अब इस केस में क्या है, if you are projecting list of student, so all the student और उस student के सारे detail हमें मिल गए. उसका नाम, address, roll number, marks, and entire details, first name, last name, date of birth, everything you are getting. But I don't need that one. I just need that name and marks. Only few values. In that case, what you can do? Of course, we can write that JPQL. So in that JPQL, let's say that here I'm trying to project only the name of the student. So first let's write that JPQL file. So s dot name from student s. Let's select this. Now, according to this method, this JPQL, can you guess how many record? What should be the method name here? Public. Can you guess what should be the return type of this particular method? Return type क्या होना चाहिए? Very good. Very good. Some people saying object array, some people list, some people string list. It will be the list of string. List of string. Why? Because I have not used where clause. Where clause में नहीं है, मतलब सारे record चाहिए. सारे student का नाम. सारे student का नाम मतलब बहुत सारे नाम आएंगे, तो यहाँ पे list of string. अगर हमने कोई where clause लगा देता और वहां पे सिर्फ एक ही हम एक student को project करते, that time it will be the string. And since method name is dynamic, so we can use get all student. Like this. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Good. Okay, now what I want here, I just need here string name. Suppose that I want to use here s dot marks. And here I'm using here s dot roll is equal to question mark 1. So this time I need to use integer roll number. The first parameter will be the roll number. Yeah, method name can be anything. Here, Sudhanshu, we need not consider about the method name or any convention we need to follow, not required, because you are using JPQL. So ये हमारा डेटा जीपी क्या करेगा, इस JPQL क्वेरी के अकॉर्डिंग आपके मेथड को रिजॉल्व करेगा. इट विल ओवरराइड योर मेथड. पहले क्या हो रहा था, इट विल यूजिंग दिस फाइंड बाय क्लॉज और ये चेक कर रहा था आपका कॉलम क्या है, इसके अकॉर्डिंग इट विल जनरेटिंग द क्वेरी. बट हियर since you are mentioning the query, according to that this method will be overridden. Does it make sense? Now here get all student marks by roll number. Okay, method name could be anything. Get what are student marks by roll number. This is the perfect method according to this query. क्योंकि हम क्या कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट का मार्क एक्सेस कर रहे हैं. Now what will be here? The return type should be, can anyone guess? It should be only integer. It should be only integer, not list. Why? Because here search condition is on the primary key, is on the ID field. तो यहाँ पे roll number 1 है, मतलब यहाँ पे एक ही roll number का एक ही student होगा और यहाँ पे एक record मिलेंगे. That's why integer. And if you are not searching, let's say that I'm searching based on the name or based on the other details, or I'm not searching anything, then it should be the list of integer. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Cool. Now, next thing I want to show you, that is, let's say that I want to project not one column. I want to project multiple columns. For example, I'm projecting s dot name, comma, s dot marks. Okay, s dot name, or let's say that s dot address, comma, s dot marks. Or let's say that s dot address and s dot marks. Based on the roll number. And that roll number I'm injecting here. This time, can you guess what will be the return type? You change the method. Get the student address and marks by roll number. अब आप मुझे बताओ कि इसका रिटर्न टाइप क्या होगा इस मेथड का, जहां पे हमने दो कॉलम प्रोजेक्ट कर रखा है, एड्रेस एंड मार्क्स. तो पहले तो आप ये बताओ कि रिकॉर्ड कितने आएंगे, हाउ मेनी रिकॉर्ड विल कम, वन और मोर देन वन? only one, so there is no chance of list. Okay, so there is no chance of list because it is a one. Now I'm projecting two columns, so return type क्या होगा? You might have used this type of situation in your Hibernate. In Hibernate, that was return type as object array. Return type was an object array, or पहला index address, second index address, marks. But here, the return type will be the string. You can take the string, you can take the string array as well. And here value will be returned as a comma separated string. Here, column will be returned as comma separated. Let me show you. So I have written this query and this method. Okay, let's check out that. So in my controller, in the same service, this is the service method I have implemented. So what I'm going to do that, I'm calling this method also, because the student name is the method to save our time. I'm just calling this method student repository dot get student address and marks by roll number, and I'm passing the roll number, let's say 1. Checking my database. 1 and 3. So I'm passing 1. Okay, and it will going to return what? String and result. And I'm printing this result on a console. So when we call this endpoint, so that means get a student by name, On a console, it will print that result of roll number 1. Let's check out that whether it's working or not. So here, get a student by roll name. Here, if I'm calling this endpoint, and you will see that on a console, we are going to get that Pune and 700. Does it make sense? Please confirm. We can write explicitly one another endpoint and another method, but to save our time, I just printed that. I'm checking this method is working properly. So I just put that in a different method. That means existing method. और इसे हमने console पे log करके check कर लिया कि value हमारा सही काम कर रहा है नहीं. Am I clear? Please confirm. So it is returning comma separated string. अब ये comma separated string पे अगर आपको further operation करना है तो क्या प्रॉब्लम होंगे फटाफट आप लोग बताओ. फॉर एग्जांपल हमें मार्क्स पे कुछ ऑपरेशन परफॉर्म करना है. मार्क्स के बेसिस पे हमें क्या चेक करना है, ये रिजल्ट कैलकुलेट करना है कि मार्क्स ग्रेटर देन 600 या 500 है तो हमें फर्स्ट डिवीजन है, अदरवाइज सेकंड डिवीजन है. इस तरह की कुछ प्रोसेसिंग करनी है. तो प्रॉब्लम क्या होगी कि हमें उसे कन्वर्ट करना होगा प्रिमिटिव टाइप में. तो पहले तो इस रिजल्ट को हम क्या करेंगे, रिजल्ट डॉट स्प्लिट एंड पास दैट हियर कॉमा. It will return that string array और फिर आपको integer dot parseInt करना होगा. So first you are going to take that string name is equal to str of 0. ये हमारा sorry this will be the address and integer dot parseInt that is str of 1 and that will be the integer. So we need to do this type of operation. Then only we will get back our details. Am I correct? Yes. लेकिन इससे एक बेटर सॉल्यूशन है हमारे पास. अभी यहाँ पर मार्क्स हमारे पास एक ही है लेकिन बहुत सारे डिटेल हो, 4, 5 या 7, 8 डिटेल हो. उस केस में हम फिर से हेल्प ले सकते हैं क्या, अपने डीटीओ क्लास का. हमारे डीटीओ क्लास का हम हेल्प ले सकते हैं. अभी डीटीओ क्लास हमने बना रखा था. दैट डीटीओ क्लास let me show you that is in the model package student DTO. So in that class we need to define those many field जितने field को प्रोजेक्ट करना है according to their data type, right? Like this. अगर आपका डेट ऑफ बर्थ हो या फिर डेट हो वो भी डिटेल हम यहाँ पे पुट कर सकते हैं. उसे भी हमें कन्वर्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. And we can tell our data JPA कि hey, don't give me the result in the string form. Give me the result in a DTO form. We can tell our data JPA. So what I can do, you can put that in a comment, and I'm going to write this method once again. And here I'm going to say like this. Give me the details and wrap these details inside the DTO class. So how we are going to do that? Select and here new, and you need to give the fully qualified name of your DTO class. So your fully qualified name of your DTO class will be com.masai.model .student DTO. So that name you need to specify new com.masai.model student DTO. Like this way, and it should have the parameterized constructor. So if you notice in our class, I took that parameterized constructor. Here's the address, here is the marks. So you need to tell that, create the object and give me that here. So here you need to get s dot address, comma s dot like this from student s, and you can change the return type as student. So you can compare this one. Here, same JPQL was there, but here it is returning as I'm projecting the two field, address and marks, normal value, and return type is string. How much pain it is to get the value from the string. But here I'm saying that, hey, data JPA, compose me an object of student DTO by putting this two value, address and marks, and return me back this object. Now, here we are going to get what? Instead of result, we'll get that student like this and in this DTA. Am I clear? Please confirm. How much it is simple? तो जितने भी फील्ड चाहिए आपको तो आपको ज्यादा प्रोसेस करने से सिंपल है कि आप डीटीओ क्लास का यूज कर सकते हो और आप जेपीक्यूएल में बता सकते हो we need the details in the DTO form. Otherwise, you need to convert that in a string array and you need to use accordingly. So here it is the DTO object. You are getting the value, wrap value. Cool. So this things is mentioned there, and even in that example also it is there. So how to use this DTO object? Okay. Now the next important thing is here another thing that is अगर आपका ये return that means repository, if it is something like this, let's say that copy this one and here I'm removing this roll number like this. Get students address and or get all student address and marks. अब इस केस में आप बताओ फटाफट कि रिटर्न टाइप क्या होगा? Hello? In this case, the return type will be the so this is the way how you can generate your JPA. Now, since we have the very limited time, what I can do, I will show one mapping example to you. Mapping example, so that you'll get comfortable with mapping. So, and some person is asking how to use the date. So in the mapping example itself, I will show you the date as well. So let's check out that. Spring Boot relationship JPA app. Start this one. So the app. And this example I'm going to import in my STS. Just going to have a project. Right. Start folder. So it will take a while. Let me just quickly explain this example. So it's a very simple. If you are using the relationship, let's say that mapping one-to-one has a relationship. तो ये सारी चीजें आप already use कर चुके हो. लेकिन हम JSON से value कैसे pass करेंगे? That is the thing you need to learn and you need to understand. Let me show one example so you get the clarity. I wish I could also use this in example date part. Otherwise, I will add this one. First, let me go to the pom.xml and check out that what were the dependencies. So same thing, that is here Spring Data JPA, here validation also I have added, dev tools and MySQL, and I have used the Lombok. What is the Lombok? Tomorrow we will discuss about that. Lombok basically it will solve your task of getter setter. Getter setter you need not write that. You need not write zero argument constructor getter setter. Simply you need to use the annotation. So that dependency you need to add and some configuration you need to do. So tomorrow I will explain about that one. Don't worry. Let me show that here the classes. So first of all, I'm going to show the model class, the resources, application.properties. Check out that here. Stop the server. The properties are quite similar. That means the same thing. What I have done, it was for 201 DB. I'm changing it as a Masai DB. So that database name, username, password, and remaining stuff is as it is. Okay. Now let me go to the model class. In a model class, I have used here employee and department. That means one-to-many relationship, and it has a relationship also. Tomorrow I will show one other relationship example, and you will try that yourself also. That is many-to-many relationship. So you can check out that first. I have one address class. It is a simple address class. Simple address class. I have that city, state, pin code. I have not written the getter setter method because I have just used @data annotation. ये लॉन्ग बुक का जादू है, यहाँ पे आपको गेटर सेटर लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, बस आप एक एनोटेशन डाल दो, ये गेटर सेटर एंड टू स्ट्रिंग एंड एवरीथिंग विल कम. So our code looks very simple and very that means easy to implement that one also. Because इससे फायदा क्या होगा आपको, एक तो ये कि आपने कोई नई फील्ड आपने लिखा है, तो उसके लिए अभी आपको गेटर सेटर जनरेट करने की जरूरत नहीं है, ऑटोमेटिकली इट विल टेक दैट गेटर सेटर. हाउ दिस विल हैपन टुमारो वी विल अंडरस्टैंड. But you can, if you are not comfortable with Lombok or Lombok is not working in your STS, then you can utilize your getter setter method. You can write that accordingly. Okay. So this address class, this address, is it an entity class? Please confirm. क्या ये एक entity class है? No, it is not an entity class. It's a simple your normal Java class. Now I have one employee class. So you can check that employee class. This employee is an entity class. It is an entity. It is having the ID, name, email, salary. Here I took the gender as well. Gender I took that in a enum. Gender is an enum. So I am saying that enumerated, and here that enum type will be the string. I will tell you that how to pass that enum. And now you will notice address. I just embedded that. This is a which type of relationship? Has a relationship. Right? So employee has an address. This address is not at all an entity. So we need to use here what? Embedded. I hope you remember that embedded or element collection, those annotations in your Hibernate. So here I have used the embedded. So that value will be there. Okay. Now let me show that enum also. So that is the enum gender, and gender enum having the male and female. Imagine if you want to add here, let me just try to add one date of birth also. Private local date. And DOB. DOB is your date of birth. So date of birth, in that case, what you need to do, you need to use one annotation in order to tell that in which form I am expecting the our value. So that annotation you need to use here, that is JSON format. You need to use your JSON format @JSON format, and you need to specify that particular format. The format in which pattern you want the data. So I want that in a DD So you need to tell DD/M should be capital YYY. So basically this should be in a pattern. So now from the JSON, you can pass the value of DOB in this particular pattern. Does it make sense? Please confirm. Okay, cool. Now you might have wondered about this thing. Many to one, this annotation I have used department DEPT. And this one other annotation JSON ignore. We'll come back to this JSON ignore in a while, but for the time being, just you need to understand this department. Let's check out that department entity. So department is also an entity, और इसके अंदर क्या-क्या fields हैं? Check out that department ID, D name, and location. Location for a department ID is auto-generated. Now here, I have the one-to-many relationship. One department can have many employees. One department can have many employees. So list of employees, and it is an array list. Since I use the data, that means getter setter for all these fields are there. Total, how many fields are there? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 fields are there in this particular. And I guess you need not know, or you know already about this one. Nobody should give me a question, sir, what is this annotation? You are very much familiar with this annotation, one to many. What is the map by? So In this one-to-many department having many employee, and it's a bi-directional mapping, and one department, that is one employee is working on a particular department. So it is many to one. And since I have used here map by department, that means the relationship is maintained by the employee object. Which employee is working on this department? Anyone having any doubt till this part? Please confirm. Except this, Jason ignore. Anyone having any confusion on this mapping? Many to one to many. This is not something like that you are learning first time. What is a cascade all? Right? But sir, you didn't use the join column. Join column, if you want to change the column name, then you can use the join column. But I'm just using that auto-generated value, so it will create that one and the column name will be created automatically. Of course, if you want to change the auto-generated column name, then you can use the join column also. Otherwise, foreign key column will be created according to whatever the conventions are there. Cool. Now, then after what I have done, this is our model package. We discussed about all the entities. Now, let me quickly go to the repository. I have created two repositories since I have the two entities. One is the department repository, which is extending JPA repository of department and integer. Need not explain. Employee repository, which is extending JPA repository, employee and integer. That's cool. So dono hamare paas repository. I have not used any kind of JPQL. If you need, you can write that one JPQL. Tomorrow I will try to put that some JPQL as well. Okay. Now, since we discussed about this one, now I'll go to the service. First, there are two interfaces I have written: department service, employee service, और दोनों के लिए implementation. पहले बात करते हैं employee service के बारे में. So employee service में हमने एक method लिखा है क्या? Add employee in a existing department or in a department. So here I took that integer department ID and here this department में ये employee को add करना. Right? So in a department, I'm going to add this employee. Second method, get all employee details by ID. Get all employee details by ID. That means हमें सारे employee चाहिए department ID के according. With the department ID, I will give you that in that department how many employees are working. Okay, let's come to the implementation. So in this one, I have auto-wired department repository, employee repository both. Add employee in a department. Department ID है और ये employee को add करना. इस employee में ID नहीं होगी. जैसे ही वो add हो जाएगा इस department के अंदर, तो उसकी ID में मिल जाएगी. That will be returned. So पहले तो हम check करेंगे कि ये department है या नहीं. So department repo.fund by ID ये हमें देगा optional. अगर present है तब आगे का काम करना है. Else throw the exception. Department ये गलत department में आप add करने जा रहे हो. और अगर है तो हमें क्या करना है? We get the department and then associating employee with department. So employee इस employee के अंदर department का reference कैसे? Employee dot set department DEPT and associating department with employee. Department dot get employees which will return the list और इस list में employee को हमने add कर दिया. Both is having the reference. Since we have used the cascading, we can save the employee. Once I will save the employee, this object employee will be added and it will hold the foreign key. I hope you got the point. आप ऐसे ही करते थे ना अपने यहाँ normal hibernate में? Please confirm. Okay. So this is the way I have implemented this method. कैसे एक employee को एक existing department में add करना. Okay. Now see that here department service. Department service I have add a new department. Where I'm going to add a department. There is another method I have written. You can implement this one. Get department by employee ID. कि हम एक employee ID से उसका department detail access करना चाहते हैं. This method also we can implement, but I have implemented this one. Add a new department. अब ये department हम add करेंगे, ठीक है? तो हमें हमारे पास दो ऑप्शन है. एक तो ये कि हम सिर्फ डिपार्टमेंट की डिटेल्स को ऐड करें, मतलब डिपार्टमेंट का नाम, लोकेशन दे और डिपार्टमेंट ऐड कर दें. आईडी तो हमारा ऑटो जनरेट हो जाएगा. दूसरा ऑप्शन ये है कि हम डिपार्टमेंट के साथ साथ एम्प्लॉय को भी ऐड कर दें, क्योंकि यहाँ पे लिस्ट ऑफ एम्प्लॉयज है तो बहुत सारे एम्प्लॉय को भी ऐड कर सकते हैं. राइट, दोनों ऑप्शन हमारे पास. While saving the department, we can add either the department only details without ID, or we can add department details along with multiple employees. We can add. Am I clear? Please confirm. Cool. So let's see that the implementation part. Department service IMPL. So here simply add sub department repository, take the department, and I'm calling save method. The department entire object will be persisted. Now the interesting thing is that in a controller, how I'm going to add the department along with multiple employees. See the controller part. So this is the department controller. Here I have a method that is add new department handler. In a request body, I'm taking a department, and here what I did here. So I'm going to pass that department object, and this is the post mapping. और ये department object हम कैसे pass कर रहे हैं? Please see here. D name location. मतलब ये department के details. Marketing कोलकाता. I'm not adding the ID because ID will be auto generated. साथ में ये तीसरा फील्ड है एम्प्लॉइज, जो भी हमने डिपार्टमेंट की बात की कि अभी या तो हम डी नेम लोकेशन ऐड कर दें या फिर इसके साथ साथ कुछ एम्प्लॉय को भी ऐड कर दें यूजिंग एम्प्लॉइज. तो वही चीज हम कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे. सो डी नेम मार्केटिंग लोकेशन कोलकाता एंड एम्प्लॉइज इट इज एन लिस्ट. तो दिस इज द लिस्ट. और ये लिस्ट हम कैसे पास कर रहे हैं? ई नेम अमित, ईमेल दिस वन, सैलरी दिस वन, जेंडर दिस इज आवर स्ट्रिंग टाइप enum. And this is your address here. This address is another field which is another separate object, but I have added another field. कौन सा field अभी हमने ऐड किया है employee के अंदर? Give me the answer. Just now I have added this DOB. So let's try to add this DOB as well. So after the salary, DOB column, and that should be your DDMMYY for you. So DD, let's say that 10/05 like this. So this is one employee. Quickie list है employees. Similarly, this is the other employee. Like this. So this is the details we have added. Let me quickly try to add this department and check out that whether it's working or not. Okay. So this application is there. I'm going to launch this application. Comma after. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here also. Excellent. So it will take a while because it is going to create some tables having the relationship and all those things. Remaining thing is very simple. That means same one-to-one, one-to-many, whatever you have learned. This is the thing that is the important thing, how you are adding the details in the JSON form. Now the last thing I want to explain, that is this part, JSON ignore. ये JSON ignore हमने क्यों लिखा है? क्योंकि क्या होगा ना, जब हम एम्प्लॉय की डिटेल्स को एक्सेस करेंगे अपने पोस्टमैन में तो क्या होगा, ये एम्प्लॉय की डिटेल्स को एक्सेस करेगा. एम्प्लॉय की आईडी, नेम, ईमेल, सैलरी और एड्रेस ये तो प्रिंट करेगा ही करेगा, लेकिन इसके अंदर डिपार्टमेंट है एंड देन डिपार्टमेंट के अंदर फिर एम्प्लॉय है, तो इट विल बिकम अ रिकर्सिव डिटेल्स. डिपार्टमेंट के अंदर एम्प्लॉय के अंदर डिपार्टमेंट. सो वो हमारा रिकर्सन प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा एंड इट विल गिव अ स्टैक ओवरफ्लो एरर. तो हम कह रहे हैं कि आप जब हम एम्प्लॉय की डिटेल को एक्सेस करें तो सिर्फ ये एम्प्लॉय वाली डिटेल हमें दिखाए, डिपार्टमेंट वाली डिटेल दिखाई ही नहीं. That's why I just use the JSON ignore. JSON ignore is a property which will going to ignore this particular property on a JSON field. Does it make sense? Cool. So my application got started, and let me try to add one particular employee along with the department. So department controller. So controller is departments. So that will be the post /8080 / departments, and in a body, let me copy these details. Cool. Now let me try to send a request. So here 201, it is got created. Department ID 1 auto generated. ये भी employee का ID हमने यहाँ employee की ID नहीं दे रखी है. You just see that name, email, salary, date of birth, and all those things. So ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, accordingly the value is there. And if you notice, it's table. Select star from employee. So I have two details of two employees, which is having these many details like Amit and Ravi, and select star from. So I have only one department, marketing. And this marketing department ID is a foreign key, DPT _ DPT ID. अगर आपने join column use किया तो आप इस column को आप change कर सकते हो by using join column. Does it make sense? Please confirm. How to use the date of birth, how to use the enum, and how to use the relationship one-to-many. Don't worry, I will just upload this example also on your LMS. So you can take that some reference, and tomorrow we will see many-to-many example, pagination and sorting as well. So that's it for the today's session. I know that the session is a little long, but still we don't have any choice. Either we need to skip some topic, otherwise we need to cover. We need to give some time to our session. So thank you for your patience, your participation. Zakir, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.